and on Disney+.
Live on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
This Game's Interrupted is brought to you by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Just a 30-minute drive from Nashville in Franklin, Kentucky. This is Nick Frazier. Wheels are down in Nashville as Robert Saleh will be introduced tomorrow at 2 for his press conference. The Titans also signed Brian Daboll as their next offensive coordinator. Daboll will be the Titans' 13th offensive coordinator since the team moved in Nashville in 1997. In the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns are hiring Todd Monken as their next head coach. Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz doesn't plan on staying in Cleveland after being passed up for the head coaching position. And after promoting Joe Brady from offensive coordinator in Buffalo to head coach, Brady will continue calling plays. Make sure to tune in for Preds Insiders this evening starting at 6, followed by Preds Official Podcast and Penalty Box Radio right here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
For more, log on to theGameNashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the George Plaster Show. It is Wednesday of this week, and as I'm looking outside my apartment right now, I am seeing the snow start to melt a little bit, which is always a good thing. But I know that there are tons of you who are probably listening that don't have power. I don't know the exact number. I haven't checked NES today, but I was on the phone with George earlier. He doesn't have power still. I know there are plenty of others without power as well. Very sad situation, but we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers on this show. With that, we will go to Murfreesboro, where we welcome in Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how's it going?
What's up, Parker? How you doing, man? You staying warm?
I am staying warm. I think we're getting a rise in temperature. Have you heard anything about another storm that we're supposed to get?
I have. I watched some guys off the internet, man. He's I forget what his name is, but like he's really accurate with what he says. And we've got another. I don't know if we're going to get snow, but I think we're going to get another cold blast. Which when you get my age, Parker, you're younger now, but when you get my age, you really can't stand winter. I've gotten to the point, like when I was a kid down here, you couldn't wait for the snow. I can remember living in Fayetteville and we were going to get some snow and I'd be there all day and everybody was waiting on it. And then you're going to get out of school. But when you get older, I don't know what it is, but I can't stand winter anymore. And when it gets really cold, like it's been the last couple of days, and then, we've got a full array of sunshine out today and it's 27 degrees and it feels like it's 60 because it was so cold the last couple of days.
Yeah, I'm looking at the forecast. 35 tomorrow's the high, 30 on Friday, 18 again on Saturday, and 26 on Sunday. So it's one thing when you're my age and you're, sitting here in the winter, but it's another thing when you're on the older side and not fun. Not fun. I think we've all had our fair share of the cold, and hopefully we don't get any more snow. But I have heard a rumor, I don't know how true it is, that we're going to get another cold blast, snow, whatever you want to call it. I hope that's not the case, though.
Me too. I'm with you. I hope it's not the case. When you live up north, as you did when you were in Chicago, when it gets really cold, the snow never leaves. And then it's like sand in Florida, where you drag, you come from the beach and you drag sand into the, the hotel or the condo you're at. And then in the north part of the United States, when it snows, like in Buffalo, like in Minnesota, and it stays for a long time, then you track it in. You got to mop the floor every day. It gets black. It's nasty. I'm over it. So we live in Tennessee. We live in the South. Let's have some sunshine, a little breeze. I don't like the hot when it gets 100 degrees, but I don't like when it's 0 either.
I want to go sit at my pool right now. My pool, by the way, you can't even see it just because it is covered in ice. You can't even see it. Can't even see it. And the trees outside, at first, it was kind of cool because they all had like icicles and it looked like it was like decorated for Christmas. And now it's just sad because they're all dying and the branches they look like those willow trees, those sleeping willow trees. They're all the branches.
That's right.
Not fun. Let's go ahead and get into America's favorite update. Kelly, we mentioned this yesterday during the show that Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And that's actually what we're going to kick off the 4 o'clock segment with, because that seems to be anything everybody wants to talk about. But he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And the belief is that Bill Polian, who is, I believe he's one of the main voters on the committee there, convinced some of the other voters to not have him on his ballot.
Oh, wow. That doesn't surprise me. I was with him with the Indianapolis Colts, and Bill did not really, he didn't really dig me. He always brought somebody in to compete with me, and every year I would beat that person out. And then it finally got to the point where he brought somebody in and he said I wasn't competing for the job. And I was livid. It was ridiculous, but hey, it is what it is. He was the general manager. And then I saw him a couple of years later in Buffalo at Jim Kelly's golf tournament, and we talked for like 30 minutes, and he acted like my best friend. So I don't. Hey, I get that. That's just the inside scoop on the National Football League.
I mean, everybody's up in arms about this, and rightfully so. He's won 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach, 2 as the defensive coordinator of the Giants. So I don't know what else you have to do. I believe the reason that Bill Polian stated was the Spygate and the cheating.
Oh, there's no question, because that was against his Indianapolis Colts. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. So it makes sense why Bill Polian wouldn't be in favor of this. But everybody else, I was really hoping that they would be super transparent on this, and the people that voted against this, why? Why did they? I'd love to know.
I'm with you, because he, hey, okay, everybody does things. They got, I don't know if that was necessarily. He probably knew that. I don't know that. Like, I don't know as a quarterback when you're in situations like that, and we've heard the stories about Tom Brady and the cell phone and all that stuff. But like, I don't know as a coach that you actually know that's going on. You probably find out hearsay, and you probably find out later. But for him not to be on that first ballot Hall of Fame with all he's done and all the winning he's done, he's second in career wins, he's first in everything else, first in playoff wins, first in Super Bowl appearances, first in how many Super Bowl he's won as a head coach. That's kind of crazy.
I'm going to put a pin in the conversation because we're going to get to it later. So your Cleveland Brownies have a new head coach. They have hired Todd Monken as their new head coach, the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. And it gets a little juicier because Jim Schwartz, who was the defensive coordinator last year, wanted the job. He was one of the few people that actually wanted the head coaching job. And he is upset that he didn't get it. He feels betrayed by the organization. And I don't think he's going to be back in Cleveland next year.
That just goes on a long list of craziness in Cleveland. It's been like that the whole time, and the fans do not deserve that. The city of Cleveland does not deserve that. But I don't know. I think Jim Schwartz deserved another shot too. He's done a lot of good things as defensive coordinator of the Lions, and now he's gone to Cleveland, and that was kind of the bright spot of their team. And just like Robert Saleh, I think Jim Schwartz deserves a second chance, and I would be upset if I were him as well.
Yep. Mike McCarthy was introduced as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. I think it was yesterday is when I saw it. And he was asked if he'd like to bring Aaron Rodgers back. His response, definitely. So
I would think that too.
It's just what we talked about. I can't remember if I talked about this with you or if it was with someone else, but the problem in Pittsburgh has been, the quarterback position. If you bring Aaron Rodgers back, what exactly does that do? It serves as a placeholder, but then you have the same issue a year later. It's just delaying.
It is, but Aaron Rodgers knows his offense, so maybe he can be a stopgap for the next guy that they bring in. So I think yeah, maybe that's why they did that. I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, the league is a retread league. I told you that yesterday or the day before, and if you can get in it, you can stay in it if you just keep your mouth shut and you do your job.
By the way, Robert Saleh is going to be introduced tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. He was supposed to be introduced today, but the weather delayed that, as is the weather's delaying everything else. Everybody's off their routine right now. So last night on the hardwood, Vanderbilt got a much-needed win over Kentucky. Kentucky was on a 5-game winning streak, and Kelly, they just dominated. It seemed like from start to finish. 80-55 was the final score, and I can't figure out this Kentucky team because I thought that they would be really good on offense under Mark Pope, and then they score 55.
I think that's the new age of college basketball. I do. I think it goes along with the new age of college football with all this other stuff that's going on. You see where, UT beats Alabama, and then Alabama comes back, and Missouri was really good, and they beat Missouri about as bad as Vanderbilt beat Kentucky. It's kind of like the same thing. I think it was like 25 or something like that. So I don't like it. You just never know who's going to show up, and that's. You try to be consistent in college basketball, even when you didn't have the transfer portal and all that stuff. You try to be consistent, but you're still dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids who not are mature yet. And sometimes they have off nights and sometimes they pout a little bit. So I think if somebody came up with the formula on how to fix that, I think you'd make a lot of money.
Rich man.
Very rich man. That's right.
Yeah, some surprising scores last night in college basketball. Number 5, Nebraska. Who thought we'd say that? And number 3, Michigan. They squared off in Ann Arbor last night. It was a great game. I thought Nebraska deserved to win, but Michigan, they came through in the final minutes, and they win by 3, 75-72. That's Nebraska's first loss on the year. They're no longer undefeated, sitting at 20-1. To me, they still look like they're going to contend for the Big Ten. They proved that they're legit, going on a tough road environment and playing the way they did. So now there are 2 remaining unbeatens. That's Arizona sitting at 21-0, and Miami, Ohio, who had a scare last night versus UMass. They won 86-84. And then another one of the good mid-majors, St. Louis, they're sitting at 21 in the country. They win on a buzzer beater, or I guess it was a couple seconds before the buzzer went off, but I still consider it one. 79-76 over George Washington. And then Arkansas narrowly escapes Oklahoma, 83-79. Kelly, it's like what you were saying, the SEC may not be as good as it was last year. Still really good. I just think there's a lot of really good teams from top to bottom, but there's not the elite, your Dukes, your UConns, your Michigan, Arizona. I don't think you have those this year. I just think the league's really good, and night to night, you never know what's going to happen.
I think you're right. And when I was looking at that stuff yesterday, all the standings and the records of the teams, like they've won a bunch, but they've lost quite a few too. So, and everybody seems like they're all parked in the middle. I don't know, but yeah, you don't have a Florida like you had last year, or like the teams you were talking about. You just don't have a dominant team, which last year the SEC was kind of crazy, which being able to get all those teams in the NCAA. But I don't know if that'll happen this year. They're still going to get a bunch, and I still think there's some good teams, but I just don't know if there's one dominant team.
Yeah, I think the last number I saw, according to Joe Lunardi, was somewhere between 9 and 10, but it's not going to be 14 like it was last year. It's that those teams beat up on each other, and night to night, you never know what's going to happen. Virginia survived in South Bend. That game went to double overtime, 100-97. So some crazy scores, and then tonight Tennessee takes on Georgia. So looking to build off of that Alabama win. We'll see what happens. And the Nashville Predators, they lost 3-2 in overtime last night in Boston against the Bruins. They have a game tomorrow night in New Jersey versus the Devils. So that about wraps up our update. Kelly, do you have anything you want to add?
No,
Anything
let's
that
just
I
have a
missed?
good show. Let's just
Anything
have a
that I
good
missed?
show, man. I'm excited about all that. I guess we got some more NFL news that we're going to talk about. I know that the what we talked about yesterday, and you broke it on the show, was Brian Daboll, and he's going to be the new offensive coordinator. I was quite shocked about Todd Monken. I think he was the OC at Cleveland before he went to the Ravens, and now he's back. You just like
I
you
always
don't
remember him from
know.
his Georgia days.
Yeah, I know. You just never know though about assistant coaches and how they if they're going to be a good head coach, because I've seen assistant coaches, and I've told people this before. I've seen so many assistant coaches that were offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators, and hey, man, they were cool. They were good guys, and you were able to talk to them. And then the next day, they became a head coach, and they turned out to be punks. And I'm like, dude, I know you from like just yesterday, man. We were talking, and now you're this guy. I don't understand. You got to be who you are, but it's just I hope the Cleveland Browns, for my sake, get it right. They haven't been able to get it right. I thought
Oh, the
Kevin
city needs
Stefanski.
it.
Yeah, it does need it. Kevin Stefanski was it's not for long for in that league, as we know, but he was a good fit. I was with Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota when he was a
Oh
quality. Well,
wow.
he wasn't even. He actually wasn't even in the football. He was like director of football ops, and now he became a head coach in Cleveland. And now he's got something to look forward to going to the Atlanta Falcons, because I really think that the Atlanta Falcons are really good. And if they can, it all hinges on Michael Penix. Now, it might not hinge on Michael Penix now since they got a new head coach. And if he comes back and he plays well, then that's good. But if he doesn't play well, then Kevin Stefanski can say, well, that wasn't my guy. Now I can go out and get my guy. So he's kind of got a little bit of a leash there. But I just want the Cleveland Browns to be successful, man, because I spent my a number of years up there, and it's a great city. It's a great place to play professional football. Those people love the Cleveland Browns, but they've just been so bad for the last 20 years. It's just, when Baker Mayfield, he took them to the playoffs, but golly, it's just, they can't get right. And I hope Todd Monken is the right guy for this, but we'll just have to wait and see. Time will tell.
I have a friend that's actually from Akron, went to the same high school as LeBron James, and he's a diehard Cleveland sports fan, and he's just always in misery. So for his sake, I hope that this is the right hire. But we'll have to see. Only time will tell. When we come back on the other side, we're going to chat with Mike Organ, see if he had some Chinese food recently. We'll have to ask him.
Please don't.
We'll get to that
We
on
don't
the
need
other
to get
side.
we don't need to get into a Christmas story, Hoffs.
This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. 292-3400.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the Plaster Show. We welcome in our good friend, Mike Organ, the one and only, to the program. Mike, have you survived the ice storm?
Just barely, Parker. I'm going to tell you, we lost power for 13 hours that first day, and it got cold in this house. So we abandoned ship, went to my in-laws, and then returned in the middle of the night when a neighbor let us know it was back on, and came home to a backyard where trees had fallen, and it's gotten better since then, I'll say.
I will say the damage just with all the trees surrounding my apartment complex. At first, I was telling Kelly, it was really pretty because it looked like the trees were decorated for Christmas with all the icicles. Now it's just kind of sad because they're all falling over.
Yeah, you'll be sitting in your house and you'll hear something start to crack, and then you'll just hear a big fall, and you think, oh, I hope it didn't hit the house. We've been fortunate. We had one fall about 3 inches from the back deck, but we haven't had anything hit the house, so we're thankful for that.
So we're going to kick off this interview the only way we know how, and that's with a little bit of controversy. Yesterday, Bill Belichick he's not going to be included in the Hall of Fame first ballot. Your thoughts, the floor is yours.
Well, back when Rod Dowhower got hired at Vanderbilt, I went up and spent a week. Rod got hired by Vanderbilt to be the head coach to replace Jerry DiNardo. And I went up and spent a week with him. He was a quarterback coach at Cleveland, and Bill Belichick was the head coach. And I went up and spent 5 days up there because they were in the playoffs about to play Pittsburgh. And so he couldn't come to Vanderbilt till after they got out of the playoffs. Well, they got out of the playoffs that Sunday when they lost. But I went up to get to know him. I went up there, and the Browns gave me full access that any other reporter would get. And I got to sit in on everything they got to sit in on. And Belichick was wonderful. He really was. He wasn't like a lot of people portray him now, and I don't know if he's like people say he is now, or cantankerous and all that. I mean, I just know that when I was up there for that little stretch, he was fine. Now that was a very small sample, but I've never felt. That I've never seen that side of it that everybody complains about, but apparently that's the only thing people can point to is that reporters just, took what he did to them over the years personal and voted against him or didn't vote for him for this first ballot. And I don't know if they're just like sending a message because he's going to get in, obviously. If he doesn't get in, they'll have to fold the Hall of Fame and just, get rid of it. But I think that's what it is. I think it's just reporters taking it personal and teach him a lesson, I don't know, or make him pay for the way they were treated over the years.
So that's one thing that has everyone talking. The other thing that has everybody talking besides the ice storm here in Middle Tennessee is the fact that the Titans have officially hired Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator. I think that's the guy that most fans wanted. That certainly seems to be the guy that Robert Saleh and company wanted as well. How do you see his kind of scheme meshing with Cam Ward?
Well, first of all, I think that the hire has made more of an impact, a positive impact anyway, than Salah's hire. I think Salah's hire was, fine. That's good. That's a good solid hire. But I think getting a former head coach to come be your offensive coordinator has probably had more of an impact, made more fans happy. And of course, that goes back to making them more pleased with Salah's hire because, obviously he had something to do with this, if not everything to do with it. How will he mesh? I don't know. I haven't gone back and looked at how he's done with young quarterbacks in the past. Have y'all looked at that? I mean, you got a guy that's now got a year under his belt, and that's huge. So, I would feel better about it. I feel better about, with Ward having a year of experience now, and with Daboll knowing what to do with him. You got a lot of film, a lot of feedback. So I just think that, it's still a bit of a mystery, but I feel a whole lot more comfortable with a veteran coach like Daboll having control and a whole year to scheme something up, or at least until August, for a young quarterback who went through the ringer this year.
Well, I noticed that with Jackson Dart in particular, lots of RPOs, lots of running the quarterback, which I would be interested to see if he's able to do with Cam Ward, because Cam Ward's pretty athletic himself. He doesn't run a whole lot, but he can if need be. Kelly, what else have you noticed?
I just, from what I get, I talked to somebody actually yesterday. It's kind of crazy, but everything is about Cam Ward. So I think that's how. And I'll ask you this, Mike, but like Robert Saleh, I think that's what he went in. He went in with a plan. He knew what they wanted. They want to keep Cam Ward around, and I think Brian Daboll, he was in Buffalo with Josh Allen, and he did some really good things with Josh Allen. So I think everything is about Cam Ward, and I think, time will tell, but Brian Daboll seems to be the guy for that, and he kind of knows that, and Robert Saleh knows that. I think this whole organization is kind of wrapping itself around Cam Ward.
I think you're totally right, Kelly, and I say that because going in to the latter stages and throughout the search, I felt like they were going to hire Matt Nagy, that we're going to hire Matt Nagy. I thought that all the other coaches he interviewed was just an exercise in saying, okay, look, I'm being thorough. I'm saying if I can find anybody better, I can't. So I'm going to go ahead and hire my buddy. Well, the fact that Saleh came in so late, I don't know if he was going to be the last one, but I know he had to have been close to being the last one that Borgonzi interviewed. And the fact that he came in and that Borgonzi hired him, I think shows exactly what you just said. He came in with a plan, and he came in with a plan to best utilize Cam Ward. And I don't know if he said that Daboll would be a part of it, because at that point, Daboll, up until yesterday, Daboll was still in the running for the Vegas job. So I don't know if he was part of it or if he just said, look, I'll bring in a coordinator that will help get done what we want to do, what I want to do, how I want to enforce this plan that he laid out, I'm sure. And I'm sure he mentioned Daboll, obviously. And I agree with Kelly that that was what set this whole thing in motion, was how best to use Cam Ward.
And part of me wants to know, I wish I was a fly on the wall, because I know that Saleh presented this plan to the brass, Brinker, Borgonzi. I'm not sure if Amy was there when he was talking about this, but he had a plan, and then he had a backup plan just in case that first plan didn't work out, on how they were going to develop Cam Ward, because the truth is, if Cam Ward doesn't work out, none of this is going to work out. But Saleh, he's going to be introduced tomorrow at 2 p.m. What do you expect? What questions do you expect to be asked the most, or kind of the biggest focuses tomorrow at his presser?
Well, I think obviously the first questions will be getting the Jets ordeal out of the way. Can you tell us how difficult that was, how hamstrung you were there? Was it like to have Aaron Rodgers for 3 snaps and then you lose him, and then you go through just an incredible run of quarterbacks and the difficulties you face there. Just to get that out of the way, because there are so many fans that still, maybe not be knowledgeable enough to know how much went along with that. And then I think past that, I think it'll be asked about exactly what we're talking about. What did you tell Mike Borgonzi, Nihill? Like you said, I don't know if Amy was there or not, but Brinker, what did you say to just obviously blow them away? And, will he say it? I think he will. I mean, there's no reason not to, because it was obviously successful. And so I think that'll be the second thing. And then it'll be interesting to see if they introduce Dayball or not, if he'll be there, and whatever other hires they've made at this point. But that's where I think it starts, Parker, is with let's get the Jets thing out of the way, and now tell us what you did to blow this staff away, to blow this the panel that we believe changed its mind on a dime late in the game.
Last one for me, and I'll turn it over to Kelly. I wanted to go to the hardwood, and Vanderbilt, they got a big win last night versus Kentucky, 80-55. It's their second win in a row after dropping three straight. They beat Mississippi State on Saturday, then followed that up with the Kentucky win. And I was just talking to Kelly before we started this interview with you that in the SEC, there's just a lot. It seems like there's a lot of really good teams, but there just doesn't seem to be that elite team, and no result necessarily indicates what's going to happen in the next game. That's just how the conference works. But do you see Vanderbilt kind of getting back on track now with this win?
Yeah, I don't think any of us thought they were, when they were 16-0, I don't think any of us thought that they were their pre-SEC schedule. It was solid, but it wasn't difficult. So I don't think any of us were fooled by how good they were. Maybe a little bit. Maybe they had, we had put too much in. Tyler Tanner's a great player, but maybe we were putting too much on his shoulders. But I think, they got humbled. The game. Florida, I thought they played that game. That game could have gone either way, Parker. That was, and you and I have talked about that here on the show. That those are probably two best teams in the SEC. And so I was not disappointed for Vanderbilt whatsoever in that game, because that was a great basketball game, and Vanderbilt could have easily won it. The next game was embarrassing. And now they've started another little mini streak here. You got 2 wins over a couple of hapless teams. I don't know how good Kentucky is. I know they had won 5 straight. Boy, they sure did look very good last night. They look kind of like what we expected them to look at the start of the season. They just don't do much. They're a 2-point team that comes down and they'll throw up a 3-pointer and it won't go in, and they just don't have a plan B. And especially against the Vanderbilt team last night that doesn't rebound the ball well, and Vanderbilt, that game was never in question. So I think you made a good point when you said one game doesn't tell you anything about what's going to happen in the next game. I don't know how many teams are going to get on runs. Kentucky winning 5 straight was surprising. They had to play very well in the second half of those games to win those games, and they didn't do that last night. So obviously they've run out of steam, and they almost lost the Ole Miss game. The game before that, they only had a 2-point lead with about a minute left, and I don't think we think Ole Miss is very good. So I don't think we know much more about the SEC than we did heading into the season, except that Vanderbilt is probably a little bit better than we thought it was going to be.
So Mike, let me go back to some Titans questions. And I don't know if you can answer this. We just got a new head coach in Robert Saleh. He's going to be introduced, I guess, tomorrow. But it is official. He's just going to be introduced to everybody else. But now we got an offensive coordinator. But are you hearing anything about the 4th pick of the draft? Like what are they? What do we think they're going to do? I mean, are they going to go? Because Robert Saleh is a defensive guy, obviously, and they have to have a pass rusher. They got no rush on the passer this year. Jeffrey Simmons is an inside guy, but you have to have one of those guys outside that can rush. Or would they go to a left tackle? Because anytime you could get a left tackle that is a for sure, which I don't know if there's ever a for sure in the NFL draft, but is there anything you're hearing about what they're going to do with that pick?
I think they go. This is just from listening as much as I can when I'm around people that cover the team and listen to the radio and whatever else. I think they go edge rusher, Kelly, to start with. They've put so much emphasis on offense for so long that they can't continue to do that. And they have made great strides offensively, or not great strides, but they've done a lot. Let's just say that has given some potential on that side of the ball. So I think they've got to go defense, and I think they got to go edge rusher. And it being a good draft with edge rushers, the kid's name escapes me right now. That will probably be the first edge rusher taken, and with the fourth pick, you'd get him. Then I think you got to do that, and then I think you go wide receiver to help Cam out a little bit more. You got to get him a number one receiver, somebody close to being a number one receiver in this league. They don't have that right now. I don't think either of the two kids from last year are potential number ones. So I think you got to get another guy that has that potential that could be, if not a number one, then very close to being a number one receiver in this league. Then I think you go offensive line, like you said, because as much attention as they've given it, it still needs help. And, I would just like to see Ward with a little bit better protection and see how good he could be. You got to get a guy, an offensive line that's going to let him drop back. He's shown he doesn't like to run. All that. He is mobile. He just doesn't like being mobile. He wants to get in the pocket and throw the ball, and he needs a little bit more time to be able to do that. Yes, at the end of the season or the second half of the season, he started using his legs more, and yes, it helped, but I just don't think it comes natural to him, and I don't think he wants to do it. And I think a little bit better line will give him more time to be the kind of quarterback he wants to be.
He's really not that guy. He can do it, but he's really not that guy. So let me ask you this. How much confidence do you have? Now, we got Mike Borgonzi, and we've talked about him in length about how we feel like he's gotten more control and he's going to be the decision maker in all this. But and I'm talking about the salary cap, because they got over $100 million in salary cap. And I can remember, I think it was 3 years ago or so, they had a bunch of money in their salary cap and they screwed it up. And they didn't. I don't even know who's on the team from that, but how much confidence do you have with him? Because I think he had a really good draft last year, and I think some of these guys are going to hit, but do you feel confident in he's going to go out and get some really talented free agents and bring to Nashville?
Yeah, to your point, they can't do any worse than they did when they had this kind of capital 2 or 3 years ago. That just, like you said, there's nobody around still from that round. So I feel better, but I don't just feel better because that was so bad. I do feel better because I do have more faith in Borgata. I like the players that he brought in last year. Most of that draft class produced, and is going to be a profile. Are they going to be all pros? I don't know. Or are they going to be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. But they're going to be a lot better than we had leading up to that. And when it was a collaboration deal where you had more than one guy trying to agree on what to do with the draft and free agency. Now that you have one guy, which is the way it ought to be, and I don't mean this bad for Amy, because she is an owner, but she just needs to stay out of the way. And I think she's more comfortable now staying out of the way. I think what she was trying to do before with the collaboration and all that, she was trying to make the franchise better. It just wasn't working. And I don't know how much advice she's getting, but whatever, if she was getting advice to let 2 or 3 or 4 people be in on the decision making, it was bad advice. And I think she had to go through that to learn. She's still learning with what she's doing, and I think she knows now. And she knew she had to get a guy in there, or female, whatever. She had to get a person in there that she could depend on and be confident with. And I think she's done that with Borgonzi. I think that he's a guy that she felt like going in. He was going to be that guy, and now after a year, he's proven that he is. And then again, the hire, the Salah hire was a good hire. Certainly everybody feels a whole lot better about it than the Callahan hire the year before. And so I think that's the main thing, is that this free agency, this group though that will go after free will be a lot better than that group was.
Okay, so let's move over to West End, and I asked Basilio this quite a bit, but I want to know your take because you got the beat on Vanderbilt. Football-wise, what did they do, and is there some optimism in the transfer portal and the kids they got?
Yeah, I think that, I saw something, and this is funny, we were beyond this. I saw something recently where Jared Curtis, who was the number one quarterback in the country in all these ratings and the 5 stars and all that forever, when he was going to Georgia and when he was being courted by so many other top programs. Now that he's committed to Vanderbilt, and not only committed, he's practiced with them at the bowl game, he has dropped to the number 2 prospect. And I thought we're past that. We saw that for many years where a guy would commit to maybe a school that wasn't a blue chip or whatever, and then the drop in ratings. And with the NIL and the transfer portal era, I thought we were past that, but apparently not for him to drop a notch. But who cares? It doesn't matter. So I think that what I saw in the transfer portal, I think, I just love the way that they try to build around, like we talked about with Cam Ward. I think that they're going to try to help Curtis as they have to change this offense. I mean, Diego was a great player, but you just can't run that kind of offense on a consistent basis. So I think that was part of their goal. Was to, as they go into this transition era, as they go from one style offense to another.
Mike, we really appreciate the time. Please try to stay warm, stay safe, and we'll do this again next week.
All right, and you guys tell George I said hi.
Will do. We'll pass it along.
Thank you, brother.
See you guys.
All right, we're going to head to a break, and on the other side, we're going to get into this day ball hiring a lot more because there are some things that we didn't mention yesterday that I want to mention now. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a race and sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Oh, it's a shame. Can you hear the song, Kelly?
I can't. No.
Oh, it's such a shame. Morgan Wallen, I had some help. It's a banger. Love it. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this Brian Daboll hire with the Tennessee Titans, some things that I didn't think about. The first being, I don't know if you remember, did you watch the Hard Knocks with the Giants, the offseason Hard Knocks?
I did. I don't think I did. I used to watch Hard Knocks every year, but I don't think I watched I don't think I watched that one.
Well, they
no.
started making the training camp and then the off season and then the end season.
Right.
So they're doing all these different TV shows with Hard Knocks. But this was the off season one, the one that really put a bad light on Joe Shane, their general manager. I don't know how he's still there, but that's a separate conversation. But with Brian Daboll, I thought it was really smart how he was talking about, like, he had an interview a combine interview with Jaden Daniels, and I thought he was really smart about, quarterback play, how he was going about talking about, what goes into development of a young quarterback and so on. He actually wanted to take Cam Ward this year with the third overall pick, but he knew that he wasn't going to be there because the Titans wanted to take him. So the Giants were willing to trade up to get him, but the Titans never budged. So that kind of shows you already that Brian Daboll wanted to work with Cam Ward. So I think that should really excite Titans fans.
I think you're right. And the guy that I talked to yesterday in the organization was talking about just what a great young man Cam Ward is. That he goes through the building all the time and he goes to different departments and he just asks how everybody's doing and how their day was, how their family is. He makes small talk. And I think that's why you can just tell that the guy is not a phony guy. A lot of times you can tell when guys are phony, when some of the things that they say, they don't mean it. And I was I was talking to my buddy and I'm like, I just don't want his confidence to wane. And he was like, dude, you ain't got to worry about that. His confidence is good. And I think that's what we saw last year. He knew he was going to have an up and down year, a tough year. They weren't very good. And he's got to have some more pieces in place. But the kid can play. I did not feel this way when everybody was talking about Will Levis. And everybody that's listening to this, they know a couple of years ago what my feelings were about Will Levis. It's hard to get the things out of a kid when they do the same thing in college. Now, Sam Darnold is a little bit different. He turned the ball over in college, but he was a really good athlete. When he was in high school, I think he played all the sports, and he's a talented kid. But it took 8 years for him to finally learn how to play the game in the National Football League. And all his steps, you look, have gotten him to the point of being in the Super Bowl. So I just think Cam Ward is the guy. And I think that was a really good hire on Robert Saleh. Obviously, he had to wait on some of the head coaching deals because I truly thought Brian Daboll was going to get the Buffalo Bills job because he had been there. He had had some success with Josh Allen, and Sean McDermott was the head coach, but he was the offensive coordinator, and he did some good things with Josh Allen. And then he was able to catapult that into a head coaching position for the New York Giants. In his first year, he went to the playoffs. But it's so important that you get the right guy behind center. And if you're talking about he wanted Cam Ward, if he would have gotten Cam Ward at New York, he may still be there. I don't know. He could still be the head coach of the New York Giants, but he had to settle on Jackson Dart. And, sometimes that's just the way it goes. I can remember when I was in Buffalo, it's crazy because the former general manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers was Tom Donahoe. And it was the year that Ben Roethlisberger came out, and the Pittsburgh Steelers had the draft pick right before the Buffalo Bills. He was a Buffalo Bills general manager. He had moved on from the Steelers, and he wanted Ben Roethlisberger. And from what I heard was the Steelers liked him too, but they liked him even more because they found out Tom Donahoe wanted him at the 12th pick. The Bills had the 13th pick. He thought that they were going to let that go, and he was going to get Ben Roethlisberger. Can you imagine if Ben Roethlisberger would have been a Buffalo Bill? Could you imagine, that organization and would not have had that strife for a long time, and they could have taken Ben Roethlisberger up to Josh Allen? That's kind of crazy. So that's kind of how things work. And if Cam Ward, goes to the New York Giants, then he may still be there. I don't know, but I'm glad that this has worked out. He obviously, and what I said to Mike, Robert Saleh went in there with a game plan, and he knew his surroundings. He knew what the organization wanted. I'm sure he had talked to a lot of people because people in the NFL talk, and they said, hey, they're sold on Cam Ward. So he had to sell that point. And I think when you come to an organization like the Tennessee Titans, you have to have somebody in place at the quarterback position. I've talked about it. Head coach and quarterback are tied. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. You look at Andy Reid when he was in Philly, he was with Donovan McNabb, and then Andy Reid in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and then Peyton Manning with Tony Dungy. I mean, those things happen. That's how that happens. And I told you I thought that was a selling point for the Tennessee Titans because I think Cam Ward is going to be the guy if they get some guys around him. And I think, Robert Saleh sold that. And I'm glad that Brian Dable is coming here because now he can help with the success of Cam Ward, which I think he could have if they get some people around him.
Well, Robert Saleh clearly wooed the front office enough to say like, hey, let's move forward with this. Let's get a deal done. Now it took a lot longer. He still hasn't been introduced yet. That's coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. But clearly he said something that wooed the front office enough to make them want to go forward with this. And when you draft Cam Ward number 1 overall, you're telling us like this guy is going to be the foundation. This is what is going to, we're banking on him working out so that we can have success in the future. So I'm sure that was, if not the first, maybe the second question that they asked. Okay, what's your plan for Cam Ward? And he presented something, and then he presented a backup plan in case that first plan didn't work out. I want to know where Mike McDaniel kind of fell in all this. And if Brian Daboll was the backup plan, because I would have assumed just from 50,000 feet that Mike McDaniel would have been the guy, considering their ties together in San Francisco. But I really do like the Brian Daboll hire. And when Mike Organ was talking about, the things that he's done with previous quarterbacks, it started to make me think because with Jackson Dart's a very athletic quarterback. So he loved to utilize those quarterback runs. Love to do the RPOs with him. That's something that Jackson Dart did at Ole Miss. Thinking back to with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is very athletic as well. Got him out on the run. With Josh Allen, drawing that out of him where you're like, hey, you can be a point guard, but when it's time to be Superman, you can be Superman. And clearly Josh Allen's a different caliber of quarterback than the ones that we just mentioned. But I'm really excited to see how he utilizes the RPOs, how he utilizes the quarterback runs, and how that's able to mesh with what Cam Ward brings to the table.
I think Brian Dable did a really good job with Jackson Dart, though. Jackson Dart runs the ball more than Cam Ward did or does. I don't think Cam Ward is a runner. I've said that on here, and even Mike said that in his interview previously. I just think he's a pocket passer who has the ability to run, who is athletic enough to run, who, unfortunately he got hurt in that last game, which, that was one of the big pluses for me. He's durable. He was durable. He got hit a bunch this year, but he's durable. But I think that was a good job of Brian Daboll with Jackson Dart, knowing what his what his athleticism brought to the table. I think it'll be totally different because I don't know how much of an RPO guy Cam Ward is either. So it might be totally different. But just like the story that I told you yesterday with Tom Moore, and back in the 70s when he was going to do the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, and they were trying to formulate all this stuff before they even knew the kids, and Chuck Noll walked in and said, you don't even know what they can do. And I think that's what makes a good coach. When you look around, you see what you got, and when he looks and sees what Cam Ward is, he already knows, because you obviously said he wanted to draft him. So it might be totally different than what Jackson Dart did, because I don't think Cam Ward's the runner. I think Brian Daboll knows that, but I think he's good enough to run. I really do, but I don't know if there'll be deals where they might have one or two runs in a game where it's a quarterback draw or something like that. But it could be totally different than what you saw in New York, and that just simplifies, or not simplifies, but it signals that he's a really good coach, and he adjusts to what his players can do, and he'll adjust what Cam Ward can do.
I'm with you. I don't think Cam Ward's a runner either, because you can tell when he's, moving in the pocket, or when he escapes out of the pocket and starts to go, he's looking to throw more so when he's on the run than running to run. And it's one of those things where I get it. Like you're a passing first quarterback, and I really like that in quarterbacks. That's just kind of me. But there are also times too, and I remember the Indianapolis game when they were on the road at the Colts. It was a 3rd and 5 later. I think it was in the second half, and he escaped the pocket, and instead of just taking off, because he had the green out in front of him, taking off and picking up the first down and moving the sticks, he decided to try to throw it at the last second, like right as he was about to cross the line of scrimmage, and it was an incomplete pass. Boom, you're punting, and you're not advancing the sticks. You're giving the other team a chance to score, which I believe they did with the Jonathan Taylor touchdown. So it's kind of like those things I'd like to see. I don't want him to change Cam Ward's game completely, but I would just like to see when those opportunities present themselves for Cam Ward to take off and just pick up a first down. It doesn't have to be a 60-yard gain. It can just be 5, 6, however many yards. That's something that I'd like to see change in his game, and I'm sure that Brian Daboll can get that out of him. And with that, we will head to the break. On the other side, lots of NFL stuff to get into, and you're not going to want to miss it, I promise. This is the George Plaster Show.
Dominating with defense and a change of plans. This is the Commodore Report. I'm Kevin Ingram. A big game for 18th-ranked Vanderbilt men's basketball on Tuesday against Kentucky. The Commodores win in a blowout at Memorial, 80-55. Points off turnovers were again key as VU scored 28 off 15 takeaways. Head coach Mark Byington loved how his team defended, holding the Wildcats to 32% on the night.
We had a group out there that we thought was a physical group, and we liked our matchups. I thought that group just got us going. And then I just told the guys in the locker room, we never let up.
The Vandy team was shorthanded with Duke Miles out with an injury. Plenty of others stepped up, including freshman Chandler Bing, made hustle plays, a pair of threes, and a season-high 11 points. The last two on a breakaway slam to cap the win.
Well, it felt real good because I was like, man, I've been wanting to dunk this year. I'm just like, well, if I get a fast break, well, I got to get it. So, man, it felt great.
Bing was one of 4 VU players scoring in double figures. Tyler Tanner and Tyler Nickel each had 19, with Nickel reaching 1,000 career points. And Devin McLaughlin recorded a double-double. He had 11 points and 12 rebounds. The win pushes VU to 18-3 overall and 5-3 in SEC play, with Ole Miss next on the schedule this weekend. The winter weather has brought a change in day and location for this week's Vanderbilt Ole Miss women's game. With storm damage and icing conditions in Oxford, the game schedule for Thursday has been moved to Friday afternoon in Birmingham. Tip-off is set for 2 o'clock at Legacy Arena with free admission. And All-American Michaela Blakes has been named to the watch list for the Naismith National Defensive Player of the Year. That is the Commodore Report on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Journell Construction. When winter wrecks your place, this is who you call. Tree through the roof, basement flooded, ice damage, deck smashed, roof leaking, power out, and everything feels sideways. Journell Construction does it all. Tree removal, water damage, structural repairs, roofs, decks, driveways, and full winter cleanup. Journell Construction. One call to the company that handles it all. Real help when you need it most. Do not wait for it to get worse. Get it handled now. Go to journellconstruction.com. That's journellconstruction.com.
Hey guys, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. When you buy a new car, you deserve complete confidence in your purchase, not just for today, but the road ahead. That's right, we offer a lifetime warranty with every new car at absolutely no cost to you. It's the ultimate peace of mind. We cover your engine and transmission for as long as it's yours. No hidden costs, no expiration date based on mileage, just the confidence that the most expensive components of your vehicle are protected. Get the peace of mind you deserve with our lifetime warranty. Find the details and shop our inventory online at newtonnissan.com.
At DePauw University, curiosity has no limits. In the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, students ask bold questions and connect big ideas that shape tomorrow. Discover how thinking can take you anywhere. Learn more at depaw.edu.
Busy Bee, yeah, Busy Bee.
Hey guys, Big Joe here from my friends over at Busy Bee. Listen, new year, new friends. Buy one Beehive membership and give one Beehive membership for free to a friend in Middle Tennessee. Look, I am a Beehive member and I would love for you to be one too. Yeah, Beehive membership only from our friends at Busy Bee.
Call 775-7833.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobitz. Our forecast this afternoon puts us back into the low 30s and a little snow melt and ice melt happening for us throughout the day. But beware, what does melt has the potential to refreeze overnight tonight into tomorrow morning.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Ponce Law is the only injury law firm with the Crash Cam Network, capturing accident footage on highways across Middle Tennessee. Injured in an accident? Call Ponce Law. We offer a no-fee guarantee, and for over 30 years, we've been helping injured people just like you. We've been voted best law firm multiple times. I'm Michael Ponce. If you've been injured, call us today at 615-244-4321. Ponce Law, justice for all.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Now time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. Kelly, Vandy's 25-point win over Kentucky was the Commodores' biggest win over Kentucky since what year?
Oh my gosh, are we kidding with this? Win over Kentucky was the Commodores' biggest win over Kentucky.
Kelly, because Kelly is the basketball savant on the show.
Yeah, you can tell that. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know to guess. Vandy's 25-point win over Kentucky was the Commodores' biggest win over Kentucky since what year? It had to be a long time ago. It probably was with Kevin Stallings. I wouldn't even know, man. I can't, I don't know. 1997, who knows?
Was it when George was their announcer?
It might have been.
That's the question we're all wondering here.
We ought to have some folks, some Vandy folks, to call in. We ought to have Clay call in and find, I'm sure he knows this. I'm sure he knows this trivia question. I do not.
I'm sure one of our adoring Vandy fans out there knows the answer.
Maybe
to this
Tony.
question.
Maybe Tony knows it. I'm sure Tony knows it as well.
Which, by the way,
I'm sure he knows
may
it.
open up the phone lines later around 4:40 or so. So if you want to talk to Kelly and I, that'll be the time to do it. Let's see the answer. 2008.
41 points.
Woo!
Wow.
All right.
That's crazy. I would not have guessed. Of course, I would have not have guessed that ever. But
yeah, I was 7.
I knew it was way back when, man.
That was a good one.
You were 7, Parker?
Yeah, no, I'm giving away my age on the show.
Good grief, man. I just retired from the NFL, man. That's crazy. You're dating me right now, Parker. That's awful. Thanks. That's great.
You're welcome. And with that, we welcome you in to the 4 o'clock hour. Lots of NFL news and notes to get into because the Browns have a new head coach. There are 2 openings left. We're going to wrap up our thoughts here on the Bill Belichick situation, as he was snubbed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not going to be one of those first ballot guys. And Kelly, one of the things that drives me crazy about this is, if the reason he was kept out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or at least in this year, was because of the cheating, like, I know Pete Rose in the MLB, like, he's kept out because of cheating or whatever was going on with him.
Betting on his games. That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with Belichick, if you're keeping him out because he was cheating, that's one thing. But to act like this is another thing I've heard. Well, look at his record before Tom Brady and look at his record after Tom Brady. And I'm like, I don't care. He has 6 Super Bowls. I don't care who the quarterback was. He has 6 Super Bowls, and then he won 2 as a coordinator with the Giants. So I can't wrap my mind around it.
I'm with you, and people always make that argument. Could he have done it without Brady? Well, could Brady have done it without Belichick? Now, he went to Tampa Bay and he showed people that he could. But I just think those 2 guys mixed at the right opportunity, the right time. And, you watch that deal with them. I forget what it was. Maybe was it were they on a Hard Knocks? Was the Patriots on a Hard Knocks? I don't remember. It was something. It was something that I watched, and they were actually playing the Titans that week.
I don't think they were. When Belichick was with New England, I don't think he'd allow camera access like that.
Well, he allowed camera access on something. I forget what it was, but he would go up. And Brady was a constant worker, and that's what I've taught my son. And the guys that are good, like Peyton, one of the first times that I was around Peyton, I can remember Peyton, he was a rookie, and we were in there practicing, and Bruce and Tom, we were doing this. It was a sluggo is what it was, but we called it X slant and go, and we had, it was to a trip side, and we kept the tight end in, and then the split end was running. It was the X sluggo is what it was, and then number 2 ran a seam, and number 1 ran a hitch. So we wanted it against cover 3. So we were under center. We didn't do much gun. We did some gun, but we didn't do as much as they do now. Everything's out of gun now. So it was a 3-step slant. You pumped it to try to get the corner to bite, and then you had to shuffle back 2 more steps.
I hope we're teaching football to the audience right here.
Yeah, and then you had to get your eyes back on the safety, because the pump hopefully got the safety over, and if the safety went running over, then that's why you got the seam. The seam is wide open. So Peyton could not get the 3 steps, pump it, and then shuffle back. He couldn't get that. So he literally stayed out probably 30 minutes after practice one day and had a guy film his footsteps, which was one of my friends, Fuzzy Stolliper. He was the film guy, but he had him film, and I'm like, this dude right here is a nerd. But that's why the guy's in the Hall of Fame. That's why the guy's won 2 Super Bowls, because he was a hard worker. That relates to what we're talking about with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a relentless worker. He never took time off, but he would go in there with Bill Belichick, and you're talking about a mastermind. You listen to Lawrence Taylor talking about how when he took over as the defensive coordinator in New York, he did not like Bill Belichick. He had to prove himself to Bill Belichick, because you're probably talking about the greatest defensive football player to ever play in Lawrence Taylor, and they tried to intimidate him, but now he loves some Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick proved himself because of his work ethic, and he knew what he was doing. Well, Tom Brady would sit down with him on Tuesdays on the off day in the National Football League, and he would go in and he would watch film, and Belichick already had it broken down. Here's what the defense is going to do to you. Here's how we need to counter this stuff. You need to watch this guy. They'll show you when they're going to roll safeties. They'll show you when they're going to blitz linebackers. Watch these guys. Some of the defensive line, like Belichick sees all that stuff. And I'm sure Brady started seeing it as well when Belichick taught him that. But those 2 guys came together at this space and time, and it was perfect. And I think, Belichick made Brady, and Brady made Belichick. So I think they needed each other to win all those Super Bowls and to go to all those Super Bowls. Now, Belichick, it was the New England way. and the New England way kind of ran its course. And I don't know if you could do the New England way anyway anymore, but I think that Tom Brady was the guy that kept that train on the tracks. I really do. Like, he got a lot of money, but every year he would restructure because he knew that we need guys. And that's what I always bring up when you get the Josh Allen contracts and the Joe Burrow contracts. Well, you're paying these guys all this money. It's hard to get defensive guys. It's hard to bring free agents in when you're paying one guy all the money. Brady was smart enough to understand, hey, if I restructure, I've got enough. But if I restructure some of my money, I can get some of these guys and I can help with this stuff. And I just think he was the guy that kept the train on the tracks with that organization. And he told those guys, everybody wanted to go to New England because they had heard how Belichick was. I had a couple of teammates that went up there, and they were like, hey, he's tough, man. He's hard, but it was all about do your job. And if you do your job, he's going to stay off of you. He's not going to bother you, but you better do your job. If you don't do your job, then you're going to have problems. He's going to get you, and then you're not going to play. And, Brady was able to be that guy where, you had the bad cop in Belichick, but then Brady was the guy that would be like, hey, we need to do this. This is how we do things. And Brady got to kind of be the same way from what I understand from guys.
Yeah.
He was pretty demanding on guys. He wanted things done right, and he would run meetings and things like that. So I think those two guys came together, but it's a shame that you get some situations like this where guys get some pettiness. And I said it earlier, I don't know if he would have been involved in that stuff. I think that's more of the quarterback and the equipment managers. I don't know if the head coach is involved in stuff like that. And I'm sure he heard, but he didn't give the okay to do that. I guarantee you the quarterback and the equipment, they kind of fudged around. Whatever happened. Who cares? You still got to throw the ball and you still got to complete passes. That's kind of different than what Pete Rose did. Pete Rose was betting on his own team. And when you do that, then you can make roster moves and stuff like that. Now, I've said it on this show. I thought Pete Rose should have been in the Hall of Fame. But that is a hard one because if you listen to Danny Evans, which you hadn't met Danny yet, but if you listen to Danny Evans, he's adamant about not putting Pete Rose.
I've talked to him.
Yeah, putting Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. He's adamant about not doing that because of what he did. But I don't think, all that, Deflategate stuff has anything to do with Bill Belichick of being where he is in National Football League lure, because he needs to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's kind of ridiculous that he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame guy.
And even if you take away a couple Super Bowls because of the cheating, he
doesn't
still
matter.
has.
Absolutely,
What I'm
doesn't
saying.
matter.
So, yeah, I mean, you made a great point that in the National Football League, your head coach and your quarterbacks are kind of connected at the hip and they're tied together.
Yes.
And that's fine if you want to say that Tom Brady kept that team on the tracks. I have no problem saying that. But also at the same time, they may have needed each other, and somebody had enough faith in him to, this is the guy that we drafted 199th overall. We're going to give him a chance. When he took over for Drew Bledsoe, I don't think anybody expected that was going to be the case, that what he was going to go on to do with that organization. Now, I know he won a Super Bowl with the Bucs after, leaving the Patriots, but it doesn't matter. Bill Belichick certainly he will be in the Hall of Fame, and I believe if I was a voter, he should have been first ballot for sure. I wanted to move on because I wanted to show this graphic that we have of our coaching carousel tracker here. As we had 10 jobs when this whole thing started. We had 10 jobs that were open, and some jobs came open later than others, but now we have 2. As the 8th one has been filled, the Cleveland Browns have hired Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. So that leaves Arizona and Las Vegas. And Kelly, what I'm thinking is with Las Vegas, I don't really know how attractive of a job it is. I know there are parts of it that are attractive. The $100 million in cap space, the fact that you're going to have the number 1 overall pick, which they're probably going to use on Mendoza. Some young pieces here and there with Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty. Tom Brady's working in the organization. So I get that there are parts of that job that are attractive, but also, too, at the same time, there hasn't been a whole lot of success there. I think if I had to guess Clint Kubiak is going to be who they're going to hire, but they have to wait to talk to him.
In Las Vegas?
That's what I could be dead wrong. I could be dead wrong.
What are you hearing about Arizona?
To be honest, I haven't heard much. And I think that they're going to get the shaft in this whole thing. That's what I think.
I don't know, man. Arizona's a tough sell. You got Kyler Murray, but he's been injury prone out there. My former strength coach with the Browns, he may not. And then you look at Las Vegas, and quarterback situation. We talk about it. If you do not have a quarterback in the National Football League, you're not going to win games. And they have the first pick, and maybe it is Mendoza, because I think he's, from everything you hear and everything that he's done, I think he's mentally ready for that. Now, are they going to be good next year? I do not know that. I think that's a hard sell. It's a great, everybody used to talk about Las Vegas and all the betting, and I've talked about this 100 times on here, but, nobody wanted to get, the NFL did not want to go there, but now they've got a franchise out there. So that's a selling point, but you've got to have a quarterback in place. And, Pete Carroll tried to bring his guy in, and it just did not work. That's Al Davis's son, which is kind of, sometimes you get it's kind of chaos in that organization. I think there's chaos in Arizona. I think if you look at these places, there's chaos in my former team. There's chaos here in Tennessee. There's a little bit of chaos in Miami. There's chaos in Atlanta. Baltimore, you don't usually see this. How long has it been since Baltimore's hired a head coach? It's been crazy. And then, Sean McDermott was there for 9, and Sean McDermott was in Buffalo for 9 years. And then you look at Pittsburgh, who's had 3 coaches since the late 60s into now. And they've had the success that they've had, and they hired a guy that's been there, done that, won a Super Bowl. Arizona and Las Vegas is a hard sell to me. I don't think the names are gone. The John Harbaugh, and you couldn't get Mike Tomlin to come out for that. Mike McCarthy's gone. So I don't know. I just, if Kyler Murray leaves, then, Las Vegas is probably going to get Mendoza like you talked about. Well, then who is Arizona going to get? Because you have to have a quarterback in place. And, those jobs are tough, man. They're NFL jobs, but it's tough. It's organizations that are tough to win at.
And when we were going through this, like at the very, very beginning, I did think that, Cleveland, Arizona, Vegas, those are probably the least attractive. But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be Arizona, just because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position. Because you're right. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win at all. So with Arizona, I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be on the team next year. You're not going to move forward with Jacoby Brissett, I'd imagine, as your starter. He may be a stopgap or a bridge, but you gotta go out and get somebody. And with where they're picking, I believe third overall, I believe is correct. I don't know if Mendoza's off the board, and with Dante Moore deciding he's going to come back to Oregon, that seems way too soon to take Ty Simpson, especially a guy that I don't think is ready and probably would have benefited coming back to school for another year. I think that's way too high. So you're kind of stuck. So that's why I really think they're going to get the shaft in all this.
They could, but I know you keep up with all this because you're a nerd of all this stuff. But like, what are they saying about Ty Simpson and his draft status and all that? Because I'm like you, I'm glad Dante Moore came back. I wished that Ty Simpson would have come back, but I think that he was getting the passive aggressive deal from Kalen DeBoer and the staff that he's got to go. We got to get him out of here. He's not our guy. We had 1 year, and he was kind of a stopgap for those guys. He got them to the playoffs, but I don't think that's who they wanted. But what are you hearing about his draft status and what people are saying about him?
So I looked on ESPN, maybe last week, and I was looking at the candidates that Mel Kiper has ranked, and I believe he had Ty Simpson in his top 10, but just because he's a a top 10 candidate or a top 10 prospect doesn't mean that he's going to, be the third overall pick. So I would expect Ty Simpson to be a mid first rounder, which is, if you're the Cardinals, ideally you'd want to trade back, but who's going to be a partner? Who's going to be a partner? Because typically you get those trade back partners when there's a quarterback that everybody wants. And to me right now, there are more QB needy teams in this draft than there are ready available quarterbacks that are, plug and play guys. I think Fernando Mendoza might be the only one. So
I'm I'm not. This is my last comment, but I'm not trying to hate on Ty Simpson, but him being from I just thought, and this is a lot of coaching. This is a lot of the Alabama coaching, man. But there were times when he had no idea where the pressure was coming, especially in the Georgia game. Now I know Georgia can turn things up on you, but just like one of my coaches used to always talk about, if you're a quarterback, if you're an offense, and if you can't piss out fires that they're bringing to you, then they're going to do it the whole game. And that's what Georgia was doing. And Georgia's defensive coordinator and Kirby Smart, they were not scared of what Alabama was going to do because they couldn't block them, and they didn't have sight adjusts. They were just running down the field. So that's a lot of coaching. But there were times in that game where – and this is what he's going to see in the pros, which I don't know if he's – to me, I don't know if he's a mid-first rounder. That's just to me. But he should have known more football than – and I know, hey, I've missed stuff too. And I was experienced, and I'd missed stuff too. But, you have to know where people are coming, and you have to know how to protect yourself, get yourself blocked, or get rid of the football. And there was a lot of times in some of those games that he had no clue where the pressure was coming. So he could have definitely used another year of college football.
Yeah, this isn't me, bashing Ty Simpson at all, because some of the throws that he put on tape this year, I mean, oh my gosh, it has NFL talent written all over it. But at the same time, that was his first full year as a starter. And that doesn't mean that there aren't things that you need to improve on. Kelly, I think you're 100% right. You go back and you watch the Georgia game, even a little bit of the Indiana game in the Rose Bowl, they bring the blitz and his eyes start to get wide. He starts to panic. So those are things that if you happen to be the starter in your rookie year, they're going to do that repeatedly. So, and I think it was I'm blanking on the coach or the general manager that had this philosophy of how many starts that you needed to have in college in order to be, have a pretty good idea of what type of success you could have in the NFL. There's some formula. I'd have to go back and find it. But I was looking at Arizona's candidates, and it looks like their three finalists: Raheem Morris, the head coach of the Falcons last year; Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator for Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which he did a phenomenal job with them this year; and Mike LaFleur, who is the brother of Matt LaFleur. He is with the Rams. So to me, that's just they're trying to get the newest branch off of the Sean McVay tree.
That's correct. That's what happens. It's a retread league, man. That's what happens.
Copycat league, So we're going to have some early thoughts. We're not going to, because we have so much time to talk about the Super Bowl. We still have about a week and a half until the game's actually played. So we have a lot of time to talk about this, but we have some early thoughts on the Super Bowl that we wanted to get to on the other side. Stay tuned right here on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Bowling Night.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Super Bowl 60 is about a week and a half away. Sunday, February 8th, 5:30 kickoff on NBC between the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel and the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold. So obviously the talk around here, Kelly, is going to be Mike Vrabel. He can become the second coach ever to win the Super Bowl as a player and as a coach with the same organization. So with Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, I've been seeing that Drake May he was a limited participant in practice today. So I don't know the extent of his injury or what exactly his injury is, but with the Patriots, how do you expect the QB run game to look with Drake May? Because that seemed to be the key in their victory versus the Broncos on Sunday.
I don't know that. I think they're playing a totally different team than the Denver Broncos, obviously. I think Seattle's defense is a little better. We all know the Broncos have good back end and they can rush the passer, but they struggle with running teams. And I think that's what New England did in that game. They just, and I said it yesterday, Mike Vrabel and his staff went in and said, hey, we just need to play smash mouth football and go with it and not turn the ball over. I don't think these guys can score. They did enough to win the game. I don't know if you can do that against Seattle. I think that Drake May is going to have to make some plays throwing the ball from the pocket, throwing the ball where he gets out of the pocket and he's able to extend some stuff. I think that's kind of how they're going to have to win the game. I just don't know if the quarterback run game, they're going to be ready for that. I think it's going to have to be a deal where, and I always use Russell Wilson for this example, he's going to have to be an opportunistic runner, and I think Drake May is an opportunistic runner. I think that he's a pocket passer, but if they give him the opportunity to run, he can. I think that's more valuable than quarterback run that is called. I really do. That's going to happen in this game. I don't know how this game is going to go, but I think he's going to have to make some plays from the pocket. They're going to force him to throw the ball, and he's had a really good year. You heard the New England Patriots fans that traveled to Denver calling the MVP, and George says the same thing. He's had an MVP-like year from going to 4-13 last year to now they're in the Super Bowl this year. So I think everybody's interested on seeing how he's going to play. He's a young guy, but he played really well this year. And other than the Texans game, man, he doesn't really, he's been kind of good with not turning the ball over. That's because that's where they're at right now. He
was
turned the ball
Sunday,
over quite a bit. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you don't turn the ball over in big games, you've got a chance in the National Football League to win games, and he didn't last week. He did in the Texans game, but it just so happened that C.J. Stroud turned the ball over way more than he did, which I felt sorry for that young man in that game. But if they don't turn the ball over, they'll be in the game. I don't know if they can win the game because I think Seattle's really talented.
Yeah, it was the typical Mike Vrabel game. Do whatever you have to do to win. Snowy conditions, swirling wind. They rushed for about 141 yards in the game. So that was kind of their key to victory once they realized that they couldn't throw the football. So I wanted to ask, I brought up the stat yesterday, 18 points per game in their 3 playoff wins up to this point versus Seattle. Do you think the Patriots could pull out a win with it being that low scoring?
I don't think so, man. I really don't. I think Seattle. I think Sam Darnold's playing well. They're going to have a plan for Jackson Smith and Jigba because if you can't stop the guy, he can take over a game, and if you can protect Sam Darnold and he gets the ball to him, he can totally wreck a game. So. They will have a plan because Vrabel falls off of the Bill Belichick deal. He was around him for that many years, and that was Bill Belichick always talked about that they're on defense. They're going to take your one big guy away. So I can see them taking Jackson Smith and Jigba away or trying to anyway. So then who else is going to have to step up? And is the run game going to be there? So for some reason, man, just Seattle, though, the cream always rises to the top. And I think this year, Seattle was, from start to finish, they were probably the most consistent team in the National Football League. And I felt that showed in the playoffs. I really thought they were going to have a tough time against the LA Rams because I said it yesterday. Matthew Stafford was 6-1 against the Seahawks going into that game. And they did have kind of a tough time with them, but at the end, they pulled away from them. And at the end, when they needed it, that was why the New England Patriots were always good those years. When they got the ball back with 5 minutes to go in the game, and it was like a 3-point game or a 4-point game where you didn't want to give the other team the opportunity to get the ball back. That's how Tom Brady, that's how the New England Patriots won all those Super Bowls and won all those games because they ran the clock out on you, and you couldn't stop them. And the other day, that's exactly the way the Seattle Seahawks looked. When the LA Rams were doing everything to get the ball back, they couldn't. And when you're a good football team and when you're a championship football team, that's what good teams do. And that's why Seattle's in the big game. And I think Seattle's the team. I really do.
28.4 points per game in the regular season. And when they have gotten to the postseason, now they have a shorter sample size than what the Patriots have because they only played 2 games. They had the first round bye. They've scored 41 and 37. So 36 points per game. And I'm with you. With how good Seattle is on both sides of the football, I don't see it being anybody else, at least right now, other than the Seattle Seahawks. And it's kind of the feel I had with when we were talking about Indiana and Miami. I felt like Miami had to play their best game in order to beat Indiana. Indiana did not have to play their best game to beat Miami. With this, I think it's kind of the same thing. The Patriots, they have to play their best game to beat Seattle. Seattle may not have to play their best game to beat New England.
I think you're right. I think when you look at the two teams offensively, I'm not saying it's come easy for Seattle, but if you look at teams trending up, I use this example a lot of times. I can remember back in the day, I don't even know I can't even remember what Super Bowl it was, but Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, they were 9-7 in the regular season.
2010,
and then,
right? When they played the Packers?
That
would have been, the 2010 Super Bowl.
Maybe it was. Was it? It was the
Big
one in
Ben
Detroit.
versus
It was against Seattle is when it was. It was against Seattle.
Okay.
It was when they were. Yeah, it was when it was in Detroit and Hines Ward. Well, Jerome Bettis, was going back home to Detroit. During the regular season, the Pittsburgh Steelers struggled. I think they were like last 3 games. I think they were 6-7, and they had 3 games to go. and then they won all 3 of them. And they got hot right at the right time. And you always look for teams that are trending up, and that's kind of how Seattle has played this year. They're trending that way. They're hitting on all cylinders on offense, and they're kind of hitting on all cylinders on defense as well. The other day, I'm not saying that was. It just seems like it's harder for New England. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's harder for Drake May and the New England offense to scrub out wins. Now, it would have been nice to have seen the game not have a blizzard in it where all they had to do was run, where they could have gotten them into some third downs. Denver could have and was able to rush him and maybe make him make mistakes if there wouldn't have been a blizzard. But they couldn't stop him running the football, and that's kind of been the Achilles heel of Denver all year. They hadn't been able to stop the run game. So it seems harder for the New England Patriots to establish some offense, whereas Seattle, man, they're running. Sam Darnold is playing free. He's got confidence because he knows that his defense is really good. If he makes a mistake, they're going to get the ball back for him. It's right now it seems like it's easier for the Seattle Seahawks going in this game than it is the New England Patriots. Now, the New England Patriots will be ready to play, and Mike Vrabel will have those guys ready to play. And I'm not saying they can't win the game because they can. Hey, it's when you reach the Super Bowl, it's anybody's game. Defensively, they're really good, and it reminds me of the old New England Patriots when they had that dynasty. They got guys that get after it, they run to the football, they play good team defense. But, offensively, can they do enough in that game to help them win? And I'm just not sure of that.
It's a 4.5-point spread, and I think the biggest spread that we've seen in this year's playoff were the Rams and the Panthers. The Rams were a 10.5-point favorite, which is a lot in the NFL. So the line really hasn't moved much on this game between Seattle and New England. But, yeah, it's just really watching this Seattle team. I think it was it might have been after their first loss to the Rams. I've been paying close attention to them, and they just seem to do this, just keep getting better and better and better. With New England, it's again, like you said, you get to this point in the season, you get to the Super Bowl, and it's anybody's game, and they're very capable of winning. Mike Vrabel, I know for a fact, will have them ready to play. They deserve to be there. But it just seems like, at least on the offensive side of the ball, they haven't been doing enough to beat a Seattle team. Now, we're not going to make our official predictions today. That'll come way later on, but it just seems like they haven't been doing enough offensively. Again, this is a team that has scored 18 points per game. That's the least for a team that's reached the Super Bowl. So they're going to have to do way more offensively if they do want to beat Seattle.
Now I will say this. Josh McDaniel, really good. Been there a long time. Been a head coach, been other places, but come back, and he's been to a lot of Super Bowls. He's a great play caller. If they can control the game, just like they did in the second half against Denver, and that's the recipe for success. And you talked about that. That's what Mike Vrabel wants to do. That's why he wanted to get Will Levis down here, because he wanted to run the football and play action and do things like that. But if they can control the tempo of the game and they can keep the ball away from Seattle, they got a shot. Now, if they can't do that, I think all bets are off, and I think Seattle wins another Super Bowl. But that's why they play the game. We sit around and talk about it. I'm interested to see it just like everybody else is.
The second iteration of this game, too, Super Bowl 49 rematch. And I think the key for New England will be getting those stops, putting Seattle in third and in very long situations. That means playing good on first and second down, forcing, the 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 11s, 3rd and 12s for Seattle, getting them off the field, and then do what you do versus Denver, running 9.5 minutes off the clock. Now, you may not have to do that every drive, but if you're taking 5 to 6 minutes every single drive, just taking chunks and chunks and chunks out of the game like that, that may bode the game in your favor. So still plenty of time to talk about this. We'll get way more into it later on this week, even into next week as well, leading up to Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to open up the phones because we still have some time. We want to hear from you. We haven't talked to you in, seems like, a week because we didn't have a show on Monday. The snowstorm is just the ice storm. It's been crazy. So we want to hear from you, how you're doing. Give us some sports thoughts at 615-759-9949. Again, that's 759-9949. We'll see if Kelly's still alert if we get any callers, and you can talk to Kelly.
We need some awesome human beings.
We need some awesome, I'm not going to say the words that George normally says, but we need some people to talk about sports. How are you feeling about the Brian Daboll hire? How are you feeling about Mike Vrabel back in the Super Bowl, not in the two-tone blue? He's in a different shade of blue this time. Still the same. It's navy, but just without the other shade of blue. It's red.
There you go. You're right.
So we want to know how you're doing. So 615-759-9949. We'll get to those on the other side. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a race and sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. In Green Hills Mall.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Wrapping up the show here on a Wednesday on the George Plaster Show. We're opening up the phones. Last time I called for the phones, it did not go very well. We had 0 callers, so I was hoping that would not be the case this time. Again, that number 615-759-9949. And Kelly, would you look at that? We do have a caller, which is better than the last time. It was better than the last time that I called for callers.
You are getting better, but it's nothing to brag about. I don't know what you're doing that George doesn't do, but
I don't know. Some days it's
either.
dry. Some days you call for callers and there's 8 or 9 that are waiting there on the phone lines. But the loyal Tony in Nolensville has called in. Tony, what's going on?
Hello, Kelly, and hello, Parker, and buddy. Let me tell you, if I could have known that you had took callers the other day, I don't know if I missed the show or what, but I'm going to be on this phone calling you guys. I love talking sports, and y'all number one in my book as far as a lot of sports shows. So I want to throw that out there to you. Y'all can send
Appreciate that, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Number one, going back, I've got 2 or 3 things I want to touch with you, but bringing up the Vanderbilt basketball. That season in 2008, that was actually the 2007-2008 basketball year when Vanderbilt beat Kentucky by the 41. And it was Shane Foster. I think he dumped in about 20-something. And I also had a guy named A.J. Ogilvy. I don't know if y'all remember him, Kelly. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
I do remember that name.
They had one hell of a team, and they actually ended up that year being a number 4 seed in the NCAA. They won by 26 games and got upset as one of Kevin Stallings' early departures in the NCAA. They got beat by Siena, and but that particular team was one hell of a team. One ended up being ranked, I think, final rankings 25, 24, something like that. But that night that Kentucky came in, Vanderbilt, everybody was on fire, and it was just, they lit it up and beat the crap. Matter of fact, it was Kentucky's worst SEC loss ever. I don't know if that still stands today, but it was at that point. It's hard to think anybody beat them by 42 since then, but that was a great game. And that was also Shane Foster's senior year, along with others. But if y'all want to see a fun clip to watch, look it up at some point on YouTube and look up Shane Foster's 42-point senior night against Mississippi State. It was unbelievable. He missed his first 3 or 4 shots and then knocked down his next 9 threes in a row, consecutive. He hit 9 straight threes. And but Mississippi State, I forgot who their shooter was, and he put on a clinic. He scored 30-something, I think. And but Shane Foster, his last one, he hit it, and we needed it. He hit it from about 35 feet out. It was unbelievable. But that's touching on that year, though, was 2008. I think it was in February when we beat Kentucky by the 41. And I was sitting in section 2F, row 4. I'll never forget it. Guys, some things that's been on my mind since the last talk. Number one, I still would love to talk about Indiana football. I still can't get over what Signetti did. It's just phenomenal. I think he's going to put a hiring of coaches now anywhere at big schools. They're going to be under the Signetti factor. These programs are now saying that you can do it in 2 years, 3 years, and these coaches are going to be pushed with their high payroll they're getting as a coach. Y'all agree with that?
I do agree with that. I asked somebody the other day because I think he's made it hard on these coaches that are coming in. And I was listening to Paul Feinbaum before we came on here, and he had a guy on from The Athletic talking about Paul Feinbaum was asking him how he did it. And he talked about how he didn't care about the stars of the kids, the 4- and 5-star kids. They don't have many 4- and 5-star kids. He wanted to see the production of a kid, whether he was at the Division II level, the FCS level, the Group of 5 level. He wanted to see him play. And I think coaches are going to start doing that. Everybody, like when you look at recruiting, Tony, and all the fans of like a Vanderbilt, a Tennessee, or an Alabama, they look, well, is this guy a 4-star? Is this guy a 5-star? Kurt Signetti didn't care about that. He doesn't care about the stars, which I'm glad to see a coach finally doing that. He wants to know the character of the kid and if he produces on the football field. And I think that's a perfect example of how he did what he did. He got guys. He brought 12 guys from James Madison, and they played a bunch, but they helped him. They helped him with organizing his culture in that program, and he was able to do what he did in 2 years. And I think he's made it harder on other coaches in the country because everybody's going to be expecting that when a new coach comes in. It's just not going to happen.
That's true. That's true. I mean, we could go on and more about it, but I want to touch on a couple other things, but you're all right there. Something that's bothered me tremendously here the last 4, 5, 6 days is the kid getting to play, the eligible basketball player down in Alabama. The judge that ruled on this, y'all didn't touched on this, but there's a sidebar to it. Maybe y'all said it. First of all, it's been mentioned in everything that the judge that made this ruling is a 6-figure donor to the Alabama Booster Club. However,
Correct.
I don't know if y'all knew this part of it. His wife, that judge's wife, is the defense attorney for the Miles case in the shooting that took place 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
I
I did see that.
Crooked stuff. I mean, I just think that is a lot of it's just a nasty, ugly, as we say in the South here, Parker, that's one hot mess. And,
mess.
Big hot mess.
and that's exactly what that is. And the one other thing, guys, I was going to touch on and go back. I wanted to say this. I forgot about this. In that Kentucky game where Vandy beat them by the 41, I failed to tell you that fans leaving the game was mad and ticked off because Vandy didn't hit the 100-point mark.
You just beat Kentucky. Who cares?
52. Yeah, and we were all mad because we didn't hit the 100-point mark. I wanted to throw that out there. And, guys, one last thing. I sat and thought a lot this weekend about this NIL, the portal and stuff. And this is some adjectives that we are in a time where the NIL and the portal, it's an unregulated free agency where there's no punishment or consequences. There is constant tampering, fraudulent poaching of players throughout with the Clemson and Ole Miss situation coming about. I think that's one that's out there now, one of many. And I think the self-reporting and self-policing, I think all of that is gone. And until we keep reiterating, we keep beating the drum, nobody's hearing it, until something is done with this stuff by somebody, and it's going to take somebody. I applaud Dabo Swinney bringing it out and calling people out and doing what he did.
Oh, yeah.
I do. I really do. And I hold coaches like Oates down there at Alabama letting the crap happen. All that coach had to do was say, we're not going down this road. I'm sorry. You had your time. But no, he's the way he is in that program. He's allowed this to happen, open up a can of worms. And then you got a coach like Dabo Swinney over here calling out other coaches of the poaching and what's going on. It's a ridiculous, crazy-ass times we're in these sports from one level to another. And I don't know where the end's going to meet, the rubber's going to meet the road, but something's going to have to happen. Guys, I've been listening to you. Y'all had great talks. Super Bowl talk's going to be fun, but that's just some things I wanted to touch on. And I got in touch with George a little bit yesterday and understand his situation. So prayers for our buddy, Mr. Plaster, the man,
right,
the legend.
Absolutely.
Have and get better. See you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you, Tony. We're going to go rapid fire right here, Kelly, because I called for the phones, and sure enough, we got all 4 loaded. So, Floyd, one quick thing. What you got for us?
Yeah, guys, thanks for taking my call, and prayers for George. Hopefully he gets better quickly. I just wanted to kind of ask Kelly. I'm a long-time football fan. I officiated high school football for 30 years, and I watch the NFL pretty much exclusively. I'm not a college football fan at all. I've never have been. But I just was wanting to know if Kelly saw this. When I was watching Cam Ward play this year, and I watched every game, I think, it seemed like to me a lot of the times, and he's got the talent. There's no doubt about it. I think he's going to be okay. There's a few things they need to kind of iron out with these mechanics and stuff. But did it seem like to you, Kelly, that he would drop back into the pocket and then retreat out of the pocket backwards and take off running? And instead of stepping up, and it seemed like to me there were several times when he could have stepped up into the pocket, but instead he would retreat back, and then you're really shot. You know, they're going to run you down or chase you. And I don't know. I was just wondering if you saw that. It just seemed like I saw him do it so many times that it drove me crazy. And I appreciate you guys taking my call, and you have a good night. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Floyd.
He did, Floyd. But that's an experience deal. He's got to learn, and sometimes you have to retreat. Like if you're throwing a screen, or if you're throwing a situation where you know a guy's not blocked, and you've got a sight adjust or something like that, you might have to retreat a little bit to throw the ball. But that's just an experience deal. He did do that some. We've talked about it on the show before. He was holding on to the ball a little bit more. He's got to have that clock. That clock's got to get quicker in his head. But he will get better with that. I really think so. And I really like the Dable hire because I think he's going to help him. I really do. And he will help with those situations. He's got to get his elbow up a lot. I just didn't like his elbow when it dropped a bunch. I talked a lot about Will Levis with that, but there's things that he has to work on. And that's certainly one of the things that he has to work on. Sometimes you have to step up in the pocket. That's why they have those guys rush around you. So he'll learn all that in time.
All right, Frank and Smyrna on line 3. You got 30 seconds.
Okay, guys. First of all, sending my prayers and to George. Get well, buddy. We miss you. And second of all, you guys talk about the Vandy game, Kentucky game last night. You know, that was really fun to watch. I was at the game in 2008 that Tony was telling you about. A couple of things I remember about that game. First of all, the coach of Kentucky was Billy Gillespie, and he spent the entire second half trying to get kicked out of the game. You could tell that's what he was trying to do. And the officials finally went over there during a TV timeout, and I later found out they told him, look, if we have to sit here and watch this stuff, so do you. Sit down and shut up. Or that was it. So that's what I was told by somebody who was sitting in the front row by the Kentucky bench that night. Now, whether that really happened, I don't know. But the other thing I remember about that game was Kentucky had scored. I looked up, I think, at the under 4-minute TV timeout in the first half, and I don't think they'd scored but like 11 points the entire first half that night. You talk about a team that wasn't trying. They weren't trying that night. And of course, everything Vanderbilt put up seemed to go in. And that was the year also that Vandy beat Tennessee at Memorial, when Tennessee was ranked number 1 in the nation, which I will admit, I enjoyed that far more than I did the 40-point.
I'm sure you did. Thanks for rubbing it in, Frank.
Did y'all know me? Oh, you're welcome, Parker. I just had to. Die-hard Vandy fan. We got to strike while we can, So, anyway. But yeah, that's all I got. Besides, to the Titan fans out there, can we just please give Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll a chance? I'm sick and tired of hearing about Mike Vrabel, okay? Yeah, Parker, what you said yesterday, yeah, all that, I'm with you. I agree with everything you said. But look, he's not our coach anymore. Good for him. Can we please quit dwelling on it and move on, folks? Please.
Amen. Amen, Frank.
Amen, Frank.
For all that's good in the world that's even left at this point, please, Titan Nation, can we? That's all I ask. Okay.
See you, brother.
Thanks for the call, Frank. All right, Clay, you're the last one. You got to be quick.
Kelly, I just wanted, first of all, prayers for George. I just wanted to say that there was one day this week where it's just been you and Parker, and I thought y'all had really smoked the peace pipe. You were actually complimenting him on I don't remember what it was, but you actually complimented him on one of his thoughts, and I just wanted to point
we do have a temporary peace treaty right now.
Got to. Hey, Clay, I heard something about you the other day saying that another station, some other guys were your favorite guys, man. You got to pick a side, Hoss.
Whoa, hey, Clay.
Anyway, I enjoyed the game last night. Vandy played well, so I'll let you guys go.
Unbelievable. Here's the thing about me. I don't like coming second to anybody, so that's unacceptable. All right, we're going to have to work to regain Clay's favorite on the top of the leaderboards. But I got one bet since I'm taking over the bets this weekend. Tennessee over Georgia tonight in Athens. Is there a little bit of bias involved? 100%. Give me the Vols versus the Dogs in Athens, 6 p.m. tip in just about an hour. We'll see you tomorrow on the George Plaster Show.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobitz. Our forecast this afternoon puts us back into the low 30s and a little snow melt and ice melt happening for us throughout the day. But beware, what does melt has the potential to refreeze overnight tonight into tomorrow morning.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
With no credit checks and payments as low as $20 a week, why wait?